Hello, I'm Chris Lee Hill, screenwriter of Tragedy Girls, and I'm here to talk about the top 3 ingredients to writing a horror comedy. I'm a friend of Tomcat Productions. So, ingredient number 1, kills. It's important to have some fun kills in your horror comedy. The challenge is that there's been so many horror comedies and horror movies in general that you have to think about, well, what haven't we seen before? So in this particular case, because it's a high school movie, we think like, well, what do you do in and around high school? You have a wood shop, you might have people who go to a gym, you might have people who ride motorbikes, who knows? But it's important that they're organic, but they're also carried out in a way that hopefully nobody's seen before. So ingredient number 2 is jokes. Every good horror comedy needs some jokes. We all remember Bruce Campbell, who I'm a huge fan of. Just based off of that, we like to make our jokes out of character. So whatever comes from character is natural and therefore funny. In this case, we take a lot of iconic characters like the high school badass who rides a motorcycle, or the local hero who's a firefighter, and we try and subvert them in ways that we don't really expect them to behave. It also kind of helps if you end up casting Craig Robinson, Josh Hutcherson, and Jack Quaid in your movie, all very hilarious people. So if you're able to get a great cast, you will have those funny moments that you're looking for.
Good idea.
How about that?
And a big part of Tragedy Girls is the game that we're playing with our 2 leads, played by Alexander Shipp and Brianna Hildebrand, in that typically they're not the killers of horror movies. Teenage girls are usually the victims. So in this case, we're generating a lot of comedy over them trying to do this really terrible thing that we end up being on side with because we're from their perspective.
Michaela? Shit. Okay. I'm sorry. Stay in character.
Alright, so ingredient number 3 is surprise. Now, that's the biggest challenge I think that most movies face in terms of being an audience member, and as a writer, you're always trying to be the first audience member, and you think like, oh, I've seen tons of movies, like what haven't I seen before? So in this case, say you take a cliche idea like, oh, a mass killer carrying a machete. What's the most fun we can have with that? In this case, it's our lead characters capturing our mass killer at the start of the story, and he ends up spending a good deal of it tied up in a basement. So the key is to set up an expectation and pay it off in an unexpected way. And that way you can keep the audience on their toes, and you're always mixing it up with a joke and then probably some splatter just to make them feel like anything could happen. So to recap, my top 3 ingredients are kills, jokes, and surprise. If you're able to weave as many of those elements into your script as possible, then you'll end up with a really fun movie. And you can watch Tragedy Girls right now on VOD and order it on Blu-ray. And as the Tragedy Girls themselves would say, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.